Hola mi pana, ¿cómo estás? Muy buenos días. ¿A cómo está la libra de carne normal? Discúlpame. ¿Qué precio tiene la libra de papa? ¿A qué precio tiene la libra de pescado? Este es...
Hey, this is post-recording pre-edit Ace, here with a bit of a disclaimer before we begin. This is a cost of living in Ecuador video or special Mercado cost of living video. But it will only be focusing on the basic basket or the market basket of Ecuador of items that can be found in the Mercado. And because it's a Mercado, there's also something special that I'm gonna call Mercado Culture that we'll talk about later on in this video. So without further ado, let's begin. Our Mercado trip began here at the Mercado of the city of Puerto Viejo, Ecuador. For the sake of understanding the price of products at the Mercado, we did 2 laps, starting with the first, which will be used to give prices on specific products and will come with a full analysis later on in the video. The second lap will be where my dad shows what it is to realistically buy things at the Mercado, and we'll show that later on as well. So the first thing we found ourselves with was both fish bollo and empanadas de verde. The fish bollos were $2 each, and the empanadas de verde were sold at 5 for $1. We advanced to the rice section, and here there were 2 types of rice they were offering. Aged rice, which was 60 cents a pound, and normal rice, which was at 45 cents a pound. After we got the prices of rice, we walked over to the chicken section. The pricing here is pretty interesting since it depends on how you buy it. If you buy the whole chicken, then they sell you it at $1.35 a pound. This basically means you have no choice in the pieces of the chicken. You have to take the whole thing. On the other hand, if you want only a specific part of the chicken, like let's say only chicken breast, then they charge you $1.85 a pound for that. Then we went to go check the prices of meat. And for generic meat, they sell it at $3.25 a pound. If you wanted lomo fino, or sirloin, they sell it at $4.50 a pound uncleaned and $5 a pound cleaned. Moving on, we went to the seafood section. For fish, specifically picudo, also known as marlin, they were selling it at $5.50 a pound. As for the shrimp, which were pool shrimp, they were at $3 a pound for the small ones, $3.50 a pound for the medium ones, and $4 a pound for the big ones. The next section we visited was the egg section. And here they sold eggs from small to giant, which was basically big. The small eggs were sold at $3.50 for 30 eggs, the medium eggs were at $4 for 30 eggs, and the giant eggs were $5 for 30 eggs. You don't have to take all 30, of course, and you could ask for half and the equivalent reduction of price for that half. Moving on, we had the cheese section. Here, they offered 2 types of cheese. The first is queso fresco, or fresh cheese, at $2.50 a pound. The second is queso maduro, or mature cheese, at $2.25 a pound. We continued our exploration of the Mercado and made it to our next destination. Here, they had maní molido, or ground peanuts, at $2 a pound. They also had almidón, or starch, at $1.50 a pound. There was also raspadura, which is also known as panela, or natural sugar, which cost $1 a pound. Chifle, which yes, is part of the basic basket, cost 50 cents for a small bag and $1 for a big bag. With that info set, we went on to the greener section, where there were fruits and vegetables. The first spot we stopped at was to check the price of avocados, which were selling at 50 cents each for small ones and 75 cents for big ones. After that, we went over to check the prices of other fruits and veggies. Potatoes were selling at 40 cents a pound, tomatoes were also 40 cents a pound. When it came to onions, they were priced at 45 cents a pound. Garlic cost $2 a pound if it was peeled, and $1.50 a pound if it was unpeeled. Carrots cost 35 cents a pound. Lemons were selling at $1 for 30 lemons. Yuca, which is cassava, was selling at 40 cents a pound with skin. And cebollín, which is green onion, was selling at 50 cents for the bundle. Then we went to another stall for more veggie prices. Pepino, or cucumbers, were $1 for 4. A small papaya cost $1. A cluster of broccoli cost $1. A head of lettuce was $1. A head of cauliflower was $1. And one cabbage was also $1. A little further ahead, my dad asked about the price of cilantro, which was 25 cents for a bundle. Further down the line, my dad asked about the price of grapes, which were at $2.50 a pound, and also got the price of strawberries, which were at $1.25 a pound. Moving ahead, he also asked for the price of corn, and it was being sold at $1 for 6 corns. Further ahead, my dad asked about the price of melons, and they were at $1.75 per melon, and he also got the price of bananas, which were at 5 cents each. After that, we went to ask about oil, which came out to be $1.50 a liter, and depending on the brand, could be a little more expensive. Further down the line, we got the price of margarine, which is what most places sell instead of butter, and it was at $2.25 for 200 grams. Once we got the prices of things inside the Mercado, we also got some prices for things around the Mercado. This has an interesting explanation that I'll give in the analysis later. But for now, some of the items we found are the mamey, which were at 3 for $1, and the níspero, which translates to loquat, which were also at 3 for $1. We moved further out and went to a bakery where bread cost $1 for 8 rolls. Even further out, we found bundles of plantain that could be bought at $4, or you could also buy 6 plantains for $1. There were also live hens that you could buy for $15. In a butcher's that also had some produce, we found milk at $1 a liter. There were also spices or seasoning that came at $1 for 500 milliliters. And keep in mind that they typically sell these in bottles. There was also salt for 40 cents a pound and flour for 35 cents a pound. And the final item we got a price for was tuna, which in a small tin cost $1.50 and a big tin cost $3.50. So first, here's a quick look at the prices of the things that we asked for. You can pause the video and screenshot these if you'd like, since they'll be helpful to understand the analyses I'll be making. Second, it's important to highlight that it's unrealistic to look at every single item in the basic basket, because not every item is in the Mercado and not every item is essential for everyone. There's also a great point that my dad makes, which you'll see later on. Now, while on the topic of things that are unrealistic, I always like showing the totals. As such, let's look at the total of every item that we mentioned today in its most expensive and least expensive version. In their most expensive versions, the total for all the items shown in the video would be $83.05. In their cheapest version, the total for all the items shown in the video would be $72.60. It's cheap for sure, but as I said, unrealistic, since obviously I wouldn't buy all the things we saw in the video. I just don't need all of them. If I wanted to buy items that I need based on what we saw today, my list would be as follows: 30 giant eggs, 1 pound of specific pieces of chicken, 1 pound of cleaned sirloin, 1 pound of fish, a head of lettuce, 1 pound of onions, 1 pound of tomatoes, 1 pound of carrots, 1 pound of peeled garlic, 4 cucumbers, 2 small avocados, 1 head of broccoli, 1 pound of fresh cheese, 2 bags of small chifle, and 8 rolls of bread. Altogether, this equals $29.05. And while this is what my list would look like, it's still unrealistic to what I'd buy in a sitting because it's not fine-tuned to specifically what I do or don't have at home at the moment. What I mean by that is, for example, why would I buy 30 eggs if I already have 15 at home? This also brings the idea of precision shopping into play. And what I mean by that is that maybe you're someone who shops to meet the needs of a specific time frame. Maybe you shop for a day, 3 days, maybe even a week. In that case, you'd buy quantities of food based on that time frame and your needs. For example, I need 30 eggs a week because I eat 4 a day, but maybe you only eat 2 a day, so you wouldn't buy 30 because it would be too much. Or maybe you would buy that 30, taking into account a future trip to the market where you just wouldn't buy eggs. There's absolutely no problem with any of that, but as you can see, it all becomes quite personalized at that point, and there's really no way for me to calculate that for you. But I can do a live shopping experience if there's enough interest in it. Let's say that if this video gets 1,000 likes, then we'll do it. And if it gets over 10,000 likes, we can consider doing it in a different mercado in a different city to get some comparisons in. Speaking of comparisons, let me show you how my dad shopped in the mercado, and after that give you my final takeaways on shopping at the mercado in Ecuador that you need to know before you dive into buying things in the mercado yourself, as well as explain the mercado culture I talked about at the beginning of the video.
Esta es una vida, un día real en las compras básicas para nuestro hogar, pues, ¿no? Que somos 4 integrantes de nuestra familia. No se puede comprar todo porque hay cosas que son perecederas, que se dañan, y estamos tratando de llevar hoy en día lo más básico para máximo 2 días. ¿Okay? Entonces, vamos caminando así, buscando lo que hemos consultado para proveernos para estos días de la semana que termina y la semana que va a comenzar, ya más o menos que serían 2 o 3 días a lo máximo, porque hay cosas que se dañan y no se puede almacenar tanto también dentro de la nevera ni dentro de la casa. Listo. Un trajito de estos así grandes para hacer unos buenos patacones. ¿Qué? Tengo unos muchachos que son grandes y les gusta buen patacón. Listo, mi jefe.
Gracias.
Ya, Dios lo bendiga, buen día.
Gracias.
A ver, maestro. Usted me dijo 35, ¿qué le parece si me pone 40 porque va a salir en la TV? Se alegró, dice. Súbase el sombrero para que salga la pinta 3x1.
Ahí sí, ve.
Eso. Ejecutando el acto, como cuando se casó.
Ve el televisor, ¿dónde sale con el televisor?
Un canal de YouTube.
Ay,
GMAS en YouTube. Listo, maestro. Muchas gracias. Dios lo bendiga.
Gracias,
Buen día.
gracias.
Ahorita vamos adentro al mercado y rentamos una carreta para poder poner las cosas que vamos a llevar, ¿ok? Vamos a ver el aguacate. Ahí está. Buenos días. Que esto me corta los dedos, la funda. Por eso te digo, en la moto no se puede. A ver, amigo. Un aguacate como que lo haya peinado usted hoy día. Guau, listo para la foto.
Uno solo, dos.
Uno. ¿Cuánto? 50, ¿no me dijiste?
50.
Ya, yo tengo 50. Tome, mijo. Muchísimas gracias. Dios te bendiga. Cuídate. Suerte, éxitos. ¿Cómo está, doñita? Buenos días. Aquí le dejo encargado un ratito. Voy a ver una carretita y me pone 15 gigantes, ajá. A ver, doñita. Muchísimas gracias. Dame 2 de este. Y póngale, como dicen en mi pueblo, la yapa. No le saque la yapa, pues, hermano. ¿Cómo te ha ido? Está suave, ¿no? Es la norma de todos hoy en día. Ya, mijo, gracias. Vamos. A ver, maestrito.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
1 libra de almidón, 1 libra de maní y 4 fundas de chifle redondo. Ahí está el almidón, ¿ah? Puesto 81. Mi hombre de confianza. Ah, la papa de yuca, mi hijo dice. Sí, ¿cuánto vale? Dice mi hijo. 50. 2 más. O sea, 4 de chifle, 2 de yuca.
Una de maní y medio.
1 de maní.
Sin achote.
Sin achote, sí. En tarrinita, por favor, si me lo puede poner en tarrina mejor,
Muy bien.
de preferencia. Usted ya sabe que hay que contentar a la mujer, porque si le llevo en funda, me regañan. Yo ya lo tenía en mente ya. Listo, caballero, gracias, Dios lo bendiga. Buen día. Vamos acá al queso. Maestro, buen día. 1 de queso fresco, bajo en sal. Ya sabe, un solo corte. 2.50, correcto. Venir al mercado es una experiencia única porque es el lugar donde uno puede hacer lo que se llama oferta y el tendero, el casero que le llamamos, es el que tiene la última palabra. Pero ahí es donde uno hace la confianza para recibir un buen trato y un buen producto. Gracias, maestro, buen día, Dios lo bendiga. Buen día. Vamos a ver la uva, una papaya y cilantro, nada más. Flaco, dame 25 de cilantro, así que esté con bastante hojitas, ¿no? Por ahí. Listo, mijo. Ok, madrina, me da una papayita, por favor. ¿Ah? Si le digo quién me gusta, es Shakira, pues, señora. Pues, me dijo 75, ¿no?
Gracias.
Gracias a usted, madrina. Dios la bendiga. Buen día, muchachos. Muchas gracias por la colaboración. Una funda de uva. ¿Cuánto vale?
A 2.50 la libra.
2.50.
La libra, de peso que tanto hay ahí.
No, 1 libra nomás. Nada más.
Gracias. Sandy, te le pongo.
Sí. Gracias. Ok. Ya, eso ya. Ahí terminamos ya, mijo. Vámonos para ir acá a pagarle la carreta al señor, que hasta eso hay que pagar 25 centavos. Maestro. Gracias.
The main takeaways that I want you to get from this video are that first, of course, shopping at the Mercado is extraordinarily cheap. Probably the cheapest shopping experience you will ever have. I'm sure we can all agree on that. Or if you have cheaper shopping experiences in different countries, Go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below. The second takeaway is that it's highly unlikely that you'll have the same or a similar shopping experience as we did. My dad is well known at the Mercado, so much so that if I had done the shopping, I may not have gotten the same price as he did. My American accent might not help much in this. But this ties into what I mentioned earlier, which is Mercado Culture. You probably noticed in the video that there are an abundance of stalls that sell similar things, yet my dad chose to go to specific ones. We did not coordinate that beforehand. My dad just has people who he buys from because of the connection he has established with them. In some cases, it's because they clearly had the better products. But in others, it's that and the fact that they sweeten the deal by giving a yapa or extra when buying something. And while that does primarily mean getting some extra produce from time to time, it can also mean that the person was simply better to deal with than others. Kinder, more honest, or just overall a better vibe. All of this is part of what I call Mercado Culture, and it's really only something you'll get if you decide to interact more with the locals, which is also of course facilitated if you are a local yourself. But leaving aside interactions, you also have to remember the variation in prices. No, I'm not just referring to the fluctuations due to the instability in the economy or the different pricing for not having a Spanish accent, but more so the region I'm in. The coastal Mercado and the highlands Mercado may be similar in price in some things while being different in others. But does that mean the information in this video won't help? Of course not. Use it as a reference point for any shopping you do at the Mercado or even at the supermarket so that you know if you're being overcharged or if you're saving or possibly overspending. Speaking of supermarkets, check out this video next where I do grocery shopping at Supermaxi to show how expensive it can be to shop there. It even includes some things that aren't just food related items. Thank you to channel members and Buy Me a Coffee members. Your support helps me to keep making awesome videos. You guys are the best. Take care, and as always, Ace out.